From now on, you have the right to keep silent or to speak, and it will be recorded.
So we're live, right? So welcome to another featured business, 48th guest, Yvonne, and I'm going to try and pronounce his name, Bojo.
Bojo. Yeah. Close enough.
I never get them right? I'm terrible, right? Okay, right. So, yeah, I'm 48th guest, so that's a milestone. I need to check who's going to be the 50th, actually, just to see who that one would be, because maybe it should have a celebration. So for those that are new, which is only Galina, right? So we'll just explain how it goes. It's a featured guest every week, every Friday, same time, could be anyone. Typically they're solopreneurs, startup type business owners, and any topics, any type of business. So it could be sustainability, circular economy, dream deciphering, whatever, okay? And then it's about getting to know the person, and then we transition into the business, and then we open it up around 20, 30 minutes or so into interaction. So you can ask the questions to the audience, and they can ask you questions, and then we just keep it free flowing like that. I'll steer the conversation, and we kick it off every week with our wonderful guest singer, Emily. But Emily normally has the busy schedule, so she will do the singing and then drop off. Right. So, right. So, oh yeah, maybe Johan, if you just want to say a few words about 𝗬𝗏𝗧, because we co-host this with 𝗬𝗏𝗧.
Sure. So 𝗬𝗏𝗧 is short for entrepreneurs. Nest is like the home of entrepreneurs. It's like a combination of LinkedIn, Zoom, Slack, WhatsApp, Meetup, Eventbrite, Upwork, the list goes on. But we felt that there are too many separated tools and not really helpful to building productivity, efficiency, and most of all, human-centric and trustworthy relationships where we do collaboration and complementation of each other. So that's what 𝗬𝗏𝗧 is. It's an invite-only network, and I'm sure James will send you an invitation afterwards then. And it's starting to become quite interesting actually now. We've passed 6,000 members, so that's very, very good. And I think all of you guys have had nice collaborations and communication starters with different people, and find that, yeah, we are a lot more people out there that have same type of approach to life and issue with the current reality. So we simply need to get together and create a better future together. That's 𝗬𝗏𝗧.
Sounds awesome.
Yep.
You're muted, James.
Right. I've sent you a personal invite in the chat. So if you join, then you click on that link, and then it's kind of attributed to who connected you. Right?
Thank you.
You're not under any obligation to join, so you don't feel like you have to. But if you do, then that's entirely up to you.
Sounds awesome.
Right. And Sophie's just joined. Right. If we can see her. Hi.
Hello.
Right. You were late. You were early, and now you're late.
Yes, it's a holiday here, so I have to juggle some children around me.
Right. Your own children?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what it's like. Mine was playing the piano in the other room, right? Just moving, right? Although I think he can accompany Emily one day. So Sophie is a friend of Yvonne, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Right. Just so you can see the connection. Right. So without further ado, we're going to go straight over to Emily's studio, right? And she's going to kick things off with a song. And yeah, she's going to tell us what song she's going to sing. So Emily, tell us a bit about you as well, because you play multiple instruments and you sing.
So hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm Emily, and I sing usually on each Friday. My two main instruments are singing and piano, but I'm also learning the saxophone and a little bit the violin, a little bit the guitar. But I'm here. I'm from London, but I'm living in Switzerland in Lausanne, and I have a business teaching kids music and organizing holiday camps and birthday parties for kids. So yeah.
Excellent. And today, what are you going to sing?
So today I'm going to sing Ed Sheeran, Castle on the Hill.
Oh, nice.
And we have a guest musician playing the cajon, but he doesn't want to be on camera. So he's a bit camera shy.
It's not your dad then.
It's not my dad, no. All right. Hello. Also, I have a Boyan. This was like with you in mind because you mentioned the microphone a few times. So.
Yeah, Boyan, can you do the sound check?
Sound check 1 2 1 2.
I don't hear.
Hello. Oh, either actually. Oh, hang on.
He was joking. I could hear that.
I hear.
Wait. I know what's wrong.
Don't put it too much. Don't see the things they want here down.
Hello. Okay. All good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
When I was 6 years old, I broke my leg. And I was running from my brother and his friends. Tasted the sweet perfume of the mountain grass I rolled down. I was younger then. Take me back to when I found my heart and broke it here. We friends and lost it through the years. And I've not seen the morning feels in so long. I know I've grown. I can't wait to go home. I'm on my way. Driving at 90 down those country lanes. Singing to a tiny dancer, and I miss the way you make me feel. And it's real when we watch the sunset over the cars along that hill. 50 years old and smoking and rolled cigarettes. Running from the law through the backfields and getting drunk with my friends. Having my first kiss on a Friday night. I don't reckon I did it right. I was younger then. Take me back to when we found weekend jobs and we got paid. We buy cheap spirits and drink them straight. Met my friends and not go numb in so long. Oh, how we've grown. I can't wait to go home. I'm on my way. Driving at 90 down those country lanes. Singing to a tiny dancer, and I miss the way you make me feel. And it's real when we watch the sunset over the cars along the hill. Over the cars along the hill. Over the cars along the hill.
Bravo. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to make one comment. I don't know if other people noticed as well. we couldn't see your face.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't check the
The microphone stand
You
was
put the
right.
microphone like this.
Yeah.
the microphone covered it.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Right.
That
So,
was
but
really
other,
beautiful, Emily.
Sorry.
That was really beautiful. That
Oh.
was very, very beautiful.
Thank
it
you.
was beautiful. Yeah.
And compliments to the drummer as well.
Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yeah. Right. So that was excellent. And Emily normally does a different song each week. And yeah, nearly never made it this week because you're going to be away, but the weather was going to be terrible. So you stayed at home, and now the weather's good. So you can go out. So you're going to shoot off now, aren't you?
I am.
All right.
Sorry about that.
So, but we'll see Emily same time next week.
Yeah.
And if
Thank
anyone
you.
wants to reach out to her, and we've got kids that she wants to teach them how to play instruments and sing, then that's the thing that she does. Right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Emily. Have a great weekend. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So we move on to our guest. So Yvonne's sitting there waiting patiently. And so, yeah, Yvonne, the floor is yours. So we're just going to steer this now to a bit about you before we go into the business. So tell us a bit about you. So where are you actually? Where are you living?
So currently I'm in the Netherlands, living in Haarlem, which is a town about 8 or 9 kilometers away from the beach. So it's a beautiful little town with an old historic center and near the dunes and the beach area. So there's a lot of nature in the neighborhood, which is great for taking a walk either before work or during lunch or even at night. Now that the sun is out till about 9 p.m. So we have long days, so we can enjoy the outside.
Wow.
Rain or shine, because there's a lot of rain.
Right. And you're originally from the Netherlands.
So I was born in the Netherlands. My mom was Dutch. My dad was Indonesian. So I was born in the Netherlands, and then at the age of 9, we actually moved to Indonesia. So that was in the 80s, early 80s, and grew up in Jakarta, and then moved out to Australia for 2 years, to Perth, Western Australia. Came back to the Netherlands and did several gigs here, and then moved out to Asia, Singapore, for the last 6, and then came back last year. So I've been
Wow.
sort of back and forth between West and East.
So why all the traveling then? Why to different countries?
Well, I think from an early age, if you're exposed to living abroad, it really opens up your horizon, that there's more than just the city. I see Galina nodding, so I think you have a similar experience.
Exactly, yeah.
And I know that Sophie has as well. But if you've lived abroad, then just living in your hometown or your home country is seemingly not enough, because you feel there's so much more to experience. I think that's where some of the desire to live abroad stems from. And I think it does, enrich your life a lot if you actually experience different countries, not necessarily that far apart physically, but just different cultures and different stages of development. I think it really gives you a broader perspective of life.
Definitely. So did you have a favorite?
I think being born with 2 nationalities, I don't really feel at home anywhere. When I'm in the Netherlands, I don't feel Dutch because I'm not blonde, I don't have blue eyes, I'm not 175 tall. When I'm in Indonesia, I don't feel at home because I don't have black hair and my R is rolling. So even though I speak fluent Indonesian, they can still hear I'm not a native, not 100%. But I think Asia does feel closer to my heart when when the plane is about to land and you fly over some of the islands and you see the ocean, then I really do feel a sense of coming home. And then when the airplane door opens and you can actually smell the warm tropical air, and it's humid, and there's the scent of flowers, and it just feels more home than the Netherlands. But I think it's if I had to choose, I probably choose Indonesia, especially now that I'm older and I'm learning so much more about the history and the colonial history of the Netherlands and what that has done to that region and specifically Indonesia. I just, my heart goes out to Indonesia for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And Australia, did you like that?
I did. But living in Perth, especially in the early 90s, I think if you would look at Webster's dictionary and look up Perth, Western Australia, I think it would say the most isolated city in the world. Because there's nothing around Perth, right? Do you agree, Johan? There's nothing, right? It's just Perth, and then flying home to Jakarta was cheaper and shorter than going across to Melbourne, for example. So in the 2 years that I lived there, I didn't explore Australia at all. Every time I had time off from school, I just went back to my parents in Jakarta. But Australia itself is beautiful, and it has a very rich history. If you just go back to the Aboriginals and how the African people actually traveled across the plains during the Ice Age to Australia. It's a tremendously interesting continent. But I didn't explore it enough when I was living there. It's only like a couple of years later that I realized that I had such a missed opportunity. But it was an interesting melting pot, because when you live there, it is super white. It is just like being in Western Europe. You don't really see a lot of the the Aboriginal community, and I think that's a real shame, because you don't really get to experience the original Australia.
So now you're back in the Netherlands. Are you staying there, or you've got itchy feet to go somewhere different?
Itchy feet.
Yeah. And where next?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Living in Singapore has been a tremendous experience. It's such a great centralized place in Southeast Asia to actually travel the region and experience all the different cultures. And then Singapore feels like going back to the office. Like everything is very clean, safe, well organized, well structured. It's an anomaly in the neighborhood. So going back to Singapore to work always felt like, okay, so we go out and play in the weekends and then come back to work on Monday morning. That's what Singapore feels like. This your clean hometown where you go back to. But it's it's very, very small. So I don't know if you guys know Singapore at all, but it's a very tiny island with just a population of 5 million. So if you want to be in nature, there's not much left, because it's really been urbanized a lot. So people tend to leave Singapore to experience nature, and whether it be neighboring Malaysia or Thailand or Indonesia. And for that reason, we really started missing nature when living there. So one of our trips, my husband and I had, was to Canada, and we generally fell in love with Vancouver, so western side of Canada. Johan, you're saying yes again. I think we've been on the same planes. But we fell in love with Canada, and it's the western side of Canada that I appreciate a lot, because there's a strong melting pot of Asia and West, especially in Vancouver. Nature is beautiful, so we were actually planning to move to Canada.
Yeah.
And then be in the Netherlands for about 6 to 9 months when we came back last year. So when we landed in the Netherlands in January 2020, that was the plan. But then we all know what happened in March. So because of Corona, all of our plans were fluid. And by the summer, we said, this coronavirus and post-Corona, we don't know what that's going to look like. So let's just pause our plans to move to the next destination and stay here, set up shop, and find challenges here to work on. And then in 2 years' time, we'll relook and see if we still want to move out and go somewhere else. We'll surely go somewhere else again. There's just no timeline at the moment, James, because I think if we all want to build up better and contribute, we can do that anywhere. And I think wherever everyone is right now, we can contribute to to the communities around us before we venture out and increase our footprint even more by traveling. And I was in one of Sophie's courses for the last couple of months, and she made me very aware of my footprint. So I have to plant a lot of trees to compensate for all my traveling in my lifetime. So still busy doing that before I do more traveling.
Perfect. Right. So the west coast of Canada is nicer weather, I guess, as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a little softer than the East Coast. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on a bit. Otherwise, we'll be talking about nice places. Did someone say like the world is flat? And when you looked at the Netherlands, you said, yeah, it is flat. And then you thought, no, there's got to be something. The world isn't flat, really. It's just the Netherlands.
I don't know. There are people that believe Earth is flat, right?
Yeah, there are. There's a group that still believe that it is.
Yeah, I think
maybe they're Dutch. Maybe they're Dutch people.
Well, I thought the Netherlands was really flat, but then the apartment building that I'm in has 18 floors, and it's only, like I said, 8-9 kilometers away from the coast. So I thought if you're like on the 17th or 18th floor, you could actually see the coast, but you can't.
Oh.
So how does that work? So if the Earth curves and I can't see the ocean or the sea, the North Sea, it's because of the dunes. I never realized how high the dunes of the Netherlands are, but they're actually quite high. You just don't experience it that way. But yeah, they're really keeping us safe. So, you know, a lot of our country is below sea line, and it's just the dunes keeping the sea out. So let's hope that it stays that way for a while.
I know we could digress because I lived in the Netherlands as well for 5 years, and people said, you know why Schiphol is called Schiphol? Did you know that?
I do not.
Right, it is actually Schiphol means ship hole, right? And it was the hole that the boats used to sink. So when they filled it in and made land in there, made the airport, it was because it was originally the ship hole.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Schiphol.
Sophie, did you know this? No.
I see. Anyway, we digress. So you mentioned you're married to Patrick. So is he Dutch?
Yes, he is. He's a white freckled redhead boy. So being in Asia was SPF 50 every single day.
Right. And he's tall, is he?
Nah, I think average. Not like some of the Dutch guys. No, he's like 178. Not that bad. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was always nervous when I lived there. Like if I saw a nice looking girl and she was sitting down, I thought if she stands up and she's taller than me, I'd feel kind of intimidated, like they're looking up and have to get in a box to kiss her or something. So yeah, it's better to meet them when yeah, exactly. But anyway, so let's move on. So in your childhood, you had some hobbies and things.
I did.
One in particular I want to pick up on because it'll resonate with a few people here, particularly me. But I guess Laszlo is your karting. You go karting.
Yes. So my dad and my eldest brother used to do some go-karting when we were living in the Netherlands, just as a hobby at some parking lot. And then when we moved to Indonesia, my dad actually picked it up as a sport, and he was out on the track every weekend. And when I was about 10 years old, I used to just take, one of the go-karts and just go back and forth in the paddock. And then one day my dad said, either you get out onto the track or you stop this messing about. And I didn't want to stop. So I went onto the track, and from then onwards, I raced every month until the age of 17. So I was a junior champion when I was 14, and I was 5th national when I was 16.
Wow.
So, and the only female for that, So I think at the time, I didn't really care that much because I grew up with 2 older brothers. But later in life, I was like, okay, I was one of the first female racers in Indonesia, the first. And that was really paving the way for other girls wanting to do something on the track. And I never realized that that would actually inspire girls. I never realized that you could set something in motion for people. And so I'm really happy that I had that opportunity. I feel very grateful.
Right.
James, we have some serious competition here then.
Yeah, I know, because I've got some Laszlo was showing me he's got some trophies, but he normally comes second, you see. And then I was showing him mine that I came first, right? So it looks like we could have a challenge on here, because also we had another guest and he's into karting as well. So probably most of us, I mean, it'd be good to have a kind of a karting competition.
There we go, Laszlo.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah, it was
Great.
really, really great fun. It was it was great. I mean, now looking at, you know, Formula One, it's scary how fast the vehicles are going nowadays. But at that time, you know, karts just being, you know, 3-4 centimeters off the ground, it still was a tremendous experience.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, my eldest son wants to do karting as well now.
Oh, good for
So-
him. Expensive hobby for you, but good for him.
No, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I just did it for fun, but I loved every time going because I knew I was going to win.
Well, let's meet up.
Yeah.
Challenge is
okay.
on.
All right. Right. You got 3 of us already. Right. So let's see how
Good.
many we can rustle up. Right.
Good.
Even bring Paul from South Africa. Right. You up for that, Paul? Or maybe we go to South Africa for karting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you mentioned about you've got 2 older brothers. You got a younger sister as well.
2 older brothers of my mom's first marriage, and I have an adopted sister.
Okay.
She
But
was born in Indonesia when we were living there, and we adopted her there as a family.
Okay. And your brothers are in the Netherlands?
No, I think the itchy feet influenced all of us. So my eldest brother now lives in Wellington, New Zealand with his wife and 3 kids. And the younger brother lives in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And he's been there for over 20 years. My sister is still here in the Netherlands, but I think she'll move out once she's doing she's studying to be a chef right now. So I think in about 2-3 years when she's done, I'm pretty sure that she'll move out as well and venture out to some country.
I was going to say, you couldn't be further away. I mean, New Zealand, South Africa, you're planning Canada.
No, but it gives us beautiful holiday destinations, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so let's just kind of move on in the essence of time, because we haven't even got to what you're doing now. So, oh yeah, as a kid, what did you want to do?
When I grew up, I watched quite a lot of television and loved the show LA Law. I don't know if any of you remember LA Law. And I really wanted to become a lawyer. And my mom always said that I had the gift of speech. Even as a little kid, I would always argue and debate. So she said you would make a great lawyer. So after Australia, I went back to the Netherlands to study law. And that never happened, because when I came back to the Netherlands, when I enrolled to the University of Amsterdam, they looked at my high school diploma and they said, this is a level 5 and not level 6. So you'll probably have to, redo your senior year in the Netherlands. And I said, well, I don't want to do that for different reasons. Let me just do the entrance exam when I'm 21. And before the age of 21, I rolled into startup life by accident, and I never left. So now 27 years later, I'm still doing startups. Oh, not necessarily at Circle Economy, maybe a mini startup within Circle Economy, but until Circle Economy, I've always ever done startups and loved it. And I think I've learned so much from it that looking back, university would not have contributed that much. But I think, other people that have gone the university route have learned a lot of frameworks and strategic thinking that I never learned. So I think there's good and bad for both journeys.
Okay. But then you're not a lawyer anymore.
No, never went into law.
Let me just touch on something that we didn't say, although we talked about it earlier. So you did other activities. I mean, you're a bit of a daredevil, right? So you like jumping out of planes.
Well, I did. Actually, it's my mother who was a daredevil. So at the age of 72, we went on a little family trip in the northern part of the Netherlands, where we have little islands. And we were at the island of Texel, which is the first little island. And she said, I want to do, I want to go skydiving. And I said, Mom, you know, do you really want to do this? You know, we don't know what the weather is like. And she took her phone, she went to the website, and she booked for herself, my sister, and me for the next day. And she was 72 years old, so that she was completely fearless and a daredevil. So the three of us, you know, went to the skydive center the next day, clear blue skies, got onto this, you know, after the briefing, got on this little plane, and with three other people and a cameraman, and we jumped out of a plane. And it was an absolute delightful experience, because once you feel like you're a bird until the chute opens, and then it's just completely silent, and you're just sort of, you know, drifting towards Earth. You know, once you get a little nearer, then it's quite fast, actually, the approach. But once you're up a little higher, it was, you know, a couple of minutes of complete freedom and weightlessness, and just, you know, looking over the sea and the islands. It was beautiful. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I'd like to do it over maybe New Zealand, just because of the view and the mountains. I think that would be beautiful. But the experience itself was thrilling, not necessarily scary. I would never do bungee jump though, and like head first towards the ground. That really scares me. But up on a plane, it's so abstract. You don't have the same feeling of danger. But it's just stepping out of a plane, knowing you're stepping onto nothingness. That's, you know, that's the scary part. But because you're attached to the professional, right? It's a tandem jump. So he just sort of jumps out. You can't do anything. You just go with it. But it was great.
And your mum enjoyed it?
She loved it. Yeah, she was super psyched, and the cameraman actually jumped with her, and she actually told him to go away, like midair. She's like, go away, because she was afraid that, because she has a wrinkly face, being a 70-year-old woman, she's like, I don't want you too near. So it was very funny. She was still very conscious of that while she was jumping, but she absolutely loved it. And she landed on her butt. It was very cute. Instead of just running, he's like, you know, lift up your legs. And so she was delivered like a little package by a stork. It was very, very fun. Yeah, it's really great.
And
I recommend it to anyone. Yeah.
And your sister also? She liked it?
Loved it. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
you recommend it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll take you up on that one. I'd love the experience. I don't know if you can have like kind of virtual reality and experience the experience without having to actually jump out of a plane.
I don't know. Maybe in one of those like indoor skydive centers, you might combined with virtual reality. Then I think you could. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a fear of falling. Although I used to have dreams I could fly, so I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but that's another story. Anyway, you also saw whales in the wild.
Well, whales, yes. And I think, you know, if you're on a ferry or on a boat somewhere, you could probably see whales easily. The dream I had as a little girl is to see killer whales in the wild. And I watched a movie called Killer Whale back in the 80s. Yeah. And I was always fascinated with these beautiful black and white animals. And when we were in Canada, around Vancouver Island, we actually went on a little, what was he? I think it was like a nature guide. And he also did, you know, professional photography to keep track of the different transient killer whales. And we were on this little Zodiac, and he got radioed in that there were some killer whales in the area. So we actually saw a mom and two baby girls swimming along, and you weren't allowed to come too close because they're like the native killer whales. It was quite far, but it was still very special to see them. And then he got radioed in saying, hey, we've seen some guys on this side. So we turned the boat around and we go the other way. And then we actually saw two men, a male, like an adult male and a juvenile male. And their fins are straight. So they have a different fin structure. So that's how you can actually see whether it's a male or female. And their fins are like 1.20 meters. It's just the fin. And
Wow.
these are transient, so we were allowed to come up closer. And it was just a magnificent sight. And then suddenly to the left, there was this whole pod of orcas, and there were moms at the distance and juveniles, and they were playing with a seal. So they were actually hunting, but still learning how to do the kill. And we witnessed all of that, which was magnificent to see. And then when we actually, after about 20 minutes, when we turned the boat and started to go the other way, suddenly he stopped the boat, and we turned around, and the orcas were following us. And then they just came under the boat, and they looked up, and they turned and went the other way, looked up, and that took like 4 or 5 turns. And they were just looking. They were really looking at you, like, who are you? What are you doing? And then when they were satisfied, they just turned around and they left. But it was magical to see that in the wild. It was such good. Oh, and also because he put a little microphone in the water, so when they were hunting the seal, you could hear just some very, very small signals. And then he said, once they do the kill and they start eating, that's when it'll go silent. And after that, you'll hear them communicate, because that's where they're done, and then they're all happy. And that's exactly what happened. So it went silent, and then a couple of minutes later, you just heard them communicate back and forth, and it was magical. It was really
Amazing.
special to hear. Yeah.
So that is a magical point to transition now into what you do, because you love the planet.
I do.
And you want to preserve, and you want to help preserve it.
Yeah, but James, I never thought of it that way, and I think it resonates so much with what Galina was saying earlier, that she went through a transformational year last year. I had the same thing, just starting in 2019, where I did a little workshop with my husband. We went away for a weekend, and we looked at the last 10 years and looked 10 years ahead. And I uncovered that I had this intrinsic need to do something with the knowledge and experience that I gathered over the years to contribute to something bigger than myself and beyond shareholders, not make money for, $1 billion company that just gets more millions or even more billions, and create that next decacorn. It didn't feel like something I would be proud of. My mom and dad passed within a year of each other, 2016 and 2017. And 2019 for me was just a year of personal awareness. Like, what am I going to do when I die? What am I going to look back at? My husband and I don't have children. It was a conscious choice, but it doesn't mean that the footprint that we have is all we're leaving behind. And I feel very strongly about that footprint being as positive as possible. So last year, and not something to be proud of. It's not ego driven, like, look at what I've done, but it's more like, when I die in myself, I want to be able to say my life mattered. I did all I could. And whether I succeed or not, that to me is not important, but the fact that I tried. And so last year I took a year to talk to ecologists, to environmentalists. I spoke to 2 of the big 4, SMEs, MNCs. That's also how I met Sophie. And I learned that there's such a realm of organizations between doing voluntary work and being at the next decacorn startup or multinational. There's this realm of organizations that take social responsibility, that want to make a difference, and that are driving this this transition. And one of the companies that I encountered was Circle Economy. So Circle Economy is a NGO based out of the Netherlands. It's a social organization that it's relatively small. There's only about 50 people, and they work internationally to support nations, cities, and businesses in their transition to circular economy. So it starts with creating awareness of what this linear economy is and what a circular economy can do for our planet, for our own existence. And then showing them where they are at the moment. How circular are you with your business or your city or your nation? And then also giving them the strategies and interventions to focus on and how to transition. So it's not just a report saying, okay, you are 10% circular or 12 or 8. It's also saying these are the strategies that you could work on to actually improve your transition and go circular. Having several conversations with Circle Economy, I quickly learned that they are very smart individuals and very strong researchers. So they're PhD scientists, data analysts, all looking at material flows, metabolic analysis of cities and nations. So they're very good at that. But you can imagine if there's 50 people in an organization, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do in a week, in a month, in a year. And based on our latest report, which we present at Davos every year, we related circular economy to the climate and what impact does a circular economy have to climate. And based on our calculations currently, the global circularity today is 8.6%. Just let that sink in. That means everything that we extract, 91% of that goes to landfill or goes to waste. Now, only 8.6
Terrible.
is circular. So that's the clothes we wear, it's the phones we have, it's the gas in our car, it's everything. Now, don't despair, you know, there's still hope, but we've got to act today. And I think that's where a circular economy also draws out the strategies that we can follow to improve on waste management, agri, business models, the built environment, textiles industry, and help all these organizations to transition. But with 50 people, it's not enough to actually accelerate this transition, because we believe we need to have a double circularity from 8.6 to roughly 17% by 2032. So we need to double our circularity in the next 10, 11 years. So when I came in, my assignment was, please help us with digitizing our products and services so that we can scale. So when I started in March, what I did is, you know, there's this whole roadmap now that I've developed of digital products that we can develop so we can actually scale out. Because instead of the textiles team working with 4 brands on switching gear, instead of just make and waste, you know, textile garments, how can you set up a business model where you can actually create garments, take it back in and repair it, very much like Patagonia has done. So how do you make different business models? You make different value chains and supply chains. Now, if we could actually deliver that to the masses, to, you know, all the look at all the manufacturing countries in Asia and Africa, if we could actually deliver that to more people via a technology platform, an online platform, we could reach so many more people. So that's my assignment today, and really looking forward to rolling this out bit by bit. But I don't want to take 4 to 6 years to develop this platform. And Galina, you know what I'm talking about. When you're developing a good e-commerce platform, it's going to take a couple of years. But the longer I take to develop this, the less years our users have to actually implement the strategy. So if we have 11 years, I need to give them, you know, 8, 9, or 10 years to do their work, which means I need to ship as soon as possible. So I feel this tremendous time pressure to get something out the door as soon as possible. And right now we're very close to prototyping and testing that with users, like what kind of tool would you need? What insights do you need? And then I have to raise funding, which is super challenging because the foundations that support circular economy are very much believers of a circular economy, and they want to support research and programs to that end. But now funding digital and technology takes a different mindset. And I see you nodding, Galina, because if you don't understand technology, then convincing people that are non-digital to put money to digital is it's a whole different conversation.
Exactly.
So it sounds like you've been in the company for years, but you've only been there a very short time.
Yeah, I started on the digital strategy document in December. So I did that for about 2 months to really map out what their roadmap was supposed to be. That was my assignment. And then after I did that, Martin, the CEO, said, "Great roadmap. Thank you very much. Now come on board and go fix this." How do you say no to that? Like, okay, yeah, I guess this is exactly the purpose and the impact, you know, role that I was looking for. And so really, really happy to have this opportunity. But it's a huge responsibility. And I feel like I cannot fail. I cannot be late. This is, you know, with all the startups that I've done, this one I feel the most, because it's so much bigger than us, what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So I've taken the liberty and I've shared in the chat the link to the website and also your links as well, so people can follow you as well. So
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so quite a challenging role. I mean, and if only such a small percentage of people are doing it, and then you say you go to Davos as well, so to help with governments to understand kind of the impact it's having on the planet. So can you influence the way that they think, or is it a challenge?
Well, I think it's not that the parties that we work with, so the partners we have, so whether it be different departments within the United Nations, whether it be the European Central Bank, whether it be 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥, which is a global network of sustainable cities, the awareness that something needs to happen is very clear. Everyone knows that. It is more what should I be focusing on that people need help with. And if they're not aware and you tell them, then the next question is still going to be, where am I at? What do I need to do? And that's where circular economy has chosen to be pragmatic and be very clear on what kind of strategies you could actually embark on. And I think that's also where, where the digital product is going to come in, to give you an idea of where you are now and which strategies you could actually implement. The problem that our users have and will have is to get funding themselves. So if you are a city official or a governmental official, or even the person responsible for new business models in an MNC, you still need to get budget from someone. So how do you align stakeholders when you're talking about circular economy? That is super difficult, because the concept of circular economy is not new, but it is not widely adopted, and it's not something that people talk about a lot. So it is our challenge to relate it back to climate or jobs or poverty or pollution or clean air, like all the social themes that people are more familiar with, to actually relate that to circular economy initiatives. And that's where a lot of the research and development comes from as well. Our team that focuses on textiles is now looking at, how do you switch your business model from just make and waste, like fast fashion? How do you change that to sustainable fashion? And looking at supply chain, value chain, every step of the way. But that is very, very specific. And those programs sometimes take 6, 9, 12 months, and only with 4 to 5 brands. And I love what they're doing, and I appreciate and support what they're doing, but it's not scalable until we can actually create a platform to reach, hundreds of brands across the globe. And that's exactly what I envision. And the partner that we have currently, James, with 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥, 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥 is ICLEI. It's a global network of sustainable cities. So there's 1,700 cities in their network. And what we're building right now as a phase 1 is a digital tool for cities to be able to define their strategies and define what they want to focus on, and see what, how their circularity is today. And the distribution will then go through 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥. So 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥 has this reach. They know how to reach these people, how to make sure that they're part of the product development, that we actually are taking in their feedback and developing something that's of value to them. And now I want the same thing for businesses, and I want the same thing for nations, because then we can actually, reach as many users as possible. So they have, most time to actually implement these strategies. It's really interesting times, and really looking forward to launching the first version.
So, I mean, it's a subject we could talk for hours and hours on, and there are some questions in here. So I want to kind of open it up to the audience rather than post the questions in the chat, but to let the person that posted them to actually ask you. But just before we go there, I mean, doing things with such a small team, you said 50 or so people. I mean, there must be other pockets of groups also around the world that are doing similar things. So is there kind of one umbrella where everyone kind of feeds into, that there's a global kind of holistic view of all of the different types of people that are doing something? Or are you kind of on your own and you have to kind of do it yourself and hope that other people can hear and maybe in some cases join forces?
Yeah, so, so we're definitely not in this alone. Ellen MacArthur Foundation is a large organization. It's about 2 or 3 times bigger than we are. And they're very much thought leadership and influencers. And then, of course, there are different governmental bodies that are also working towards this. UN is working towards this. So there's a lot of collaboration in this field. We also collaborate with a lot of partners on different programs. And what we want to avoid is that different organizations, whether it be NGOs or social enterprises, doing the same thing separately. So we're really trying to make sure that we connect the dots. And to that end, we actually developed something called the Knowledge Hub. And the Knowledge Hub is a platform that we launched, and the new version was just launched in March, where people can actually share their cases and connect with each other. So at least there's like the center, it's almost like Wikipedia for circular economy cases. And there's no business model to it. Anyone can add their content and can also consume the information. At some point, I do want to look at a business model for it, because right now we are a nonprofit supported by trusts and foundations. But of course, through technology, I'm hoping that I can develop a business model where we can at least earn some money to sustain our own operations. There'll never be a profit goal, but it would be so good for us to have this product that can actually be self-sustaining, so that I can serve it for a longer period of time without having that 100% dependencies on TNF funding, not knowing whether it's going to come in, whether they change our strategy, whether we're top of mind or something else becomes more important. And I think a lot of foundations have seen that last year with Corona, it is super challenging. Like, do we support Corona initiatives? Do we continue supporting the environment or wildlife? Everyone has to make choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can only spend your dollar once.
Yep.
So if we can actually define a good business model around the product, I'm hoping it'll be self-sustaining in a couple of years.
I just want kind of the audience to ask some questions here, but just quickly, is there a city in the world that is kind of a flagship one that say, well, yeah, they're doing it right, and kind of follow them?
Well, Amsterdam implemented the donut model, which is seen as an example for a lot of cities. But there are really good initiatives in Africa. West Africa is very, very active with circular strategies. And I think right now everyone is looking towards each other to see, how good are you doing? What are your strategies? And that's, one of the one-off, like the one-liners we've added to the product is, think global, but act local. Like, think no boundaries, like think of helping each other, because whatever you order is probably going to come from some other country and crossing several seas and over land, be transported across different boundaries. So let's just look at this as one global problem that we can solve together. But you may want to act local because it's, it's in your city or in your business.
Yeah.
Really, really opening up. And I think to that end, we still all have a very, very long way to go.
Exactly. So a question, right? There's a question in the chat. So I'm not going to read it. I'm going to let the person that posted it ask the question.
Sure, you talk about what I wrote, but it's not a question. It's more like if you're interested to
okay.
to talk with my university, I can be a link or get you in touch with the colleagues working on such topics.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn, Solange, because I think food and agri as a thematic area is a growing theme. So definitely interesting to connect. Yes, please.
Okay, and I'm also working on digitalizing science for our scientists. So we have some things in common
for
to
sure.
discuss.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's connect and just schedule a separate call.
Very fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So have you got any questions for the audience, Yvonne?
Not at the moment, but I do think that if just like Solange did, like if there's anything that you guys can contribute from a content perspective, please reach out, because there's different subject matter experts in circular economy that I connect you with, whether it's us providing you insights or vice versa. If there's any connection that you have to certain European cities, let me know as well, because we're looking to also roll out to European nations and cities with more generic circularity data so that they actually so Lithuania, for example, I think who was from Lithuania?
Victoria.
Victoria, she's dropped off already. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So Lithuania.
I am really close. I'm in Latvia, so it's like on the border. So we count.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the reports that we do annually is a circularity gap report for the world, but we can also do that for nations. So right now we're doing one for Lithuania. We've done one for Norway. We've done one for Quebec as a province. And those are things that we really want to do as much as possible because it gives deep insights to that nation or that city as to what they can do and what their current state is. So if anyone has any links to that, please let me know because we're very eager to do these scans because it gives us even more insights. And of course, last but not least, if anybody has a very rich uncle or auntie and they're wanting to fund this, I would be forever grateful if we can get some of the funding in to actually get the product off the ground.
What about crowdfunding?
Yeah, because it's not consumer focused, not sure if it would be the right
For
vehicle.
humanitarian reasons.
Yeah, it's on our list to look into. But right now it's trust and foundations that we're speaking to first. And if we do feel there's still a gap or we still need part of it, then Knowledge Hub could definitely be an option for crowdfunding.
What about, so you would work with big corporations. I mean, it could be someone like Coca-Cola or whatever, and just say that.
Yeah, exactly. I was also thinking that big corporations, like there are big companies that, it's a marketing point for them, unfortunately. A lot of times it's PR, but again, collaborating with a company like yours, and especially with all the kind of research and like all the data you have, guys, it seems as a good
for sure
option.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I particularly like.
Yeah, so we do speak to. No, we do speak to some of like the larger banks and MNCs. We also speak to some of the larger consultancies around the world. Some of them have foundations to see if there's collaborative nature there. But I do feel like whoever's going to fund this needs to have some digital program or Google would be a great one, or the eBay Foundation. So like technology centric foundations would be really interesting.
Or 𝗬𝗏𝗏.
That's what I meant with raising my hand. Actually, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 would be an excellent suggestion here. And I've just written to you in 𝗬𝗏𝗏 there also. I did see that you haven't actually signed up for this event in 𝗬𝗏𝗏, but that's a great way for you to stay connected with the rest of the people who are in here also. And I'd love to connect further with you. I think we have so many and easy ways of really making a lot more mutual value creation happen here. So that would be good.
I'd love to, Johan, because I think in the end, it's one of the things that you said as well about the reasons why you founded 𝗬𝗏𝗏. If we join hands as people, we're all consumers and we're all professionals, but if we connect as people, I think we can definitely move mountains. And it's not about saving the planet. It's about saving humanity. Planet will survive. It's been around for millions of years. It's going to be here for millions of years. It's just going to, one day it's just going to spit us out, go, you guys, you're parasites, go away.
Exactly.
But if we want to, sustain our own living conditions for the next generations, we have to act now. And I think a lot of people are just not aware of what's happening until there's a tipping point, and then it's, I wouldn't say too late. I don't want to be a doom thinker, but it's going to be so much harder by then. I was so happy to read on LinkedIn today, there was a post that I don't know how many millions of acres of forest have been restored. And I was like, oh, that's good news. Like, okay, there's little glimpses of light, and let's not relax because we're not near the finish line at all. But I'm very happy to connect with you, James, and through you with this community of smart, experienced people to see how we can join hands.
That's really it. I think the attitude and mentality of people, I think, needs to change a little bit also, and they realize more and more regarding the environment and all of that. But I think another big area is social media and how things are happening or not happening, and the lack of trust, the lack of accountability, the lack of consequences from bad behavior, right? So these are all elements why we created 𝗬𝗏𝗏, and
Yeah, wonderful.
It's really huge opportunities. I haven't met Solange, I think, either before, so that's very nice to meet you. And of course, I'd love to connect further with you also. And the link that James forwarded higher up in the chat there for joining in Entnest is of course available to you also. And I think it would be an excellent and very good experience for you too. And Galina, of course.
Yeah, Solange is going to be a guest. A guest as well.
Oh, great!
She probably does. Well, she's got a date for the future. I mean, but she is penciled in. And Galina, it'd also be nice to have you as a guest at some point.
Yeah, I think we chat. Yeah, we will chat about it.
So that's all connect here as well. We kind of run out of time. It's a topic that we could talk about forever. Also, you could leverage on Entnest, and when you create your profile and everything, you can set up your own chat group as well, and with a focus on talking about circular economy. What does it mean to you? Do you actually know what it is? I think one of the biggest problems is education. People don't understand what it actually is. And then once you educate them and say, well, you can make a difference, not just about the big corporations, it all starts with you. And then once we kind of get that movement going, hopefully we change the mindset.
Well, even on that, we could have an hour-long discussion, because I think yes, we can make choices, and I think every choice we make on a daily basis, you know, as to where do we buy our gas, do we even drive our car, which coffee do we drink, do we have a keep-all cup? But in the end, I think it's the industry that needs to change.
Exactly.
Because sometimes there's just no choice for us as a consumer, or very little choice. Whereas if the big corporations,
but it starts with the choice of the individuals, I think, and the individual have a really big power, which so far they don't realize, and I mean,
completely underutilized.
Absolutely. And again, the problem is the trust and the accountability and the consequence element, which is not there in Facebook and the rest, right? So all of that is also part. I'm sorry to maybe preach a little bit then, but I'm not going to say the word again.
No, but thank you so much for creating Entnest, and thank you for having me, James, for Visibility and Impact. Happy to connect.
No, it's absolutely fantastic to have different types of guests, because the conversations that can be steered in different ways, and everybody's got a story to tell, and I want to hear those stories. But I mean, at the end of it, it connects us as well, because there's that emotional connection of what people do, and if we can connect as people, then in business it makes life a lot easier for all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
That's exactly it. I think we're missing this kind of connection between trusted people, right? It's too much at the surface and without seeing the person behind the profile picture, right? So it needs to change. A lot of things needs to change.
That's why I prefer this to Clubhouse, because you can actually see people.
For sure.
I mean, you see them when they shriek and when they're happy, and when they like disappear off screen. And I mean, it's interactive. I can see when Paul's having a good time, they're sitting there, taking it easy, enjoying the weather. But
living the life.
Time to go surfing, I guess.
but
you can go surfing. I'm jealous. Really?
It's nice because we don't know each other. I've never met, apart from Johan, I've never met anyone else. But you feel that connection when you see someone here.
Yeah.
And it's much more magical. But anyway, on that note, Yvonne, you've been a fantastic guest. I love your story. This is recorded. So I put it on my YouTube, and then I'll make it available to you, Yvonne, and then feel free to share it if you wish.
To share. Awesome. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
A pleasure. And then anyone that wants to tell their story, then just let me know. Okay, so on that note,
great.
I will sing us out. No, I won't. Boyan will, but
all right.
Boyan's disappeared, so he won't.
Happy weekend, everyone.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. See you.
Same time next week.
Bon weekend.
Bye.